Iki Kurogane is just your average dude with main character hair and side character stats. In a school full of magical sword prodigies, this guy ranks so low they had to invent a new level of failure just for him. But does he give up? Nope. He shows up every day like he's got plot armor stitched into his school uniform. Iki, as you can see, starts his day like a normal workaholic cow. What you don't know is that he was born without powers and is an utterly useless human being. He got kicked around like a wet, soggy puppy by everyone, even his family. They launched him out into snow to literally give up the ghost. The legendary samurai showed up out of nowhere. The dude dropped some words so fast they burned themselves into Iki's empty skull. After that day, Iki woke up with cheat codes installed like he just got new superpowers. Man had the ability to wipe out mankind. Iki dragged himself back to his room smelling like sweat and loser juice. But inside, his little eyes spotted the school's top waifu with no plot armor. I mean, instead of apologizing like a normal human, this dumb meat stick decided it was a great time to flex and took his shirt off. Meanwhile, the school principal, who looked like she smuggled chaos in her handbag, dragged Iki into the office. She told him he might have just started a war by eye-banging a foreign princess. Yeah, turns out Fire Girl Stella Vermilion was royalty. When Stella Vermilion demanded an apology, Iki said her crusty body didn't even deserve one. This was the moment he realized his life was hanging by a thread made of his own stupidity. She almost barbecued him, but then he panic screamed that she was too beautiful for him to look away. Somehow that diffused the whole nuke situation, and Stella Vermilion transformed from angry dragon to blushing trash can. Iki still didn't understand why her dramatic tomato face was in his room in the first place. That's when the cracked-out principal returned and told them they were now roommates. Beautiful. Stella Vermilion threw a tantrum, yelling she'd never share space with a powerless goblin like him. But anime logic kicked in again, and the principal said the best way to fix their beef was a good old duel. Stella Vermilion added spice by saying the loser would become the other's servant forever. Iki, because he runs on stupidity and protein powder, agreed. On the way to the arena, Stella Vermilion kept hearing rumors about how Iki had 0 ability points. Basically, he was a magical reject who failed every class and still refused to quit. At the arena, she summoned her fire lizard sword like she was cosplaying a volcano, and Iki summoned a regular-looking sword that screamed. But as soon as they started fighting, it was clear this dude wasn't normal. Stella Vermilion kept swinging like she was trying to cut Rent in half, but Iki dodged, blocked, and countered every move like a ghost with abs. He told her he could feel how hard she trained, and for a second, she looked confused. But then she snapped back saying he'd never beat her sword style. Too bad for her, Iki had been secretly watching every tryhard in the country like a creepy ninja. Since nobody ever bothered to teach him anything, he learned how to copy their techniques by tracing every swing and stance. It was called Blade Steel, and it was his ultimate move. Basically, man turned himself into a sword-style scavenger and somehow made it cool. Even when she tried to fake him out, Iki wasn't having it. He used his second broken move, irregular guarding, and parried her flames away like they were weak attempts at cooking. He went for the final strike, but his blade didn't pierce her body. Apparently, her dumb royal DNA made her immune to his attacks. She laughed like a spoiled brat and said the match was over. She summoned the flames of purgatory, ready to roast him into crispy Iki nuggets.
That's it! The winner is Iki Kurogane!
Later, the principal went to check if Stella Vermilion had turned into emotional jelly, and she had. She told the director that it was the first time she ever got owned in a fight and asked how a 0-point failure like Iki did it. The director revealed the truth. Iki's garbage family rigged the school system to only count magic powers and ignore physical talent. That's why every time he tried, he still looked like a clown on paper. But in reality, the dude was a gym rat swordsman with skills that could slice mountains. While the sun set, Stella Vermilion snuck into Iki's room like a stalker with royal privileges. She tried waking him up, but got distracted by his bare back, which looked like a Greek statue dipped in baby oil. Iki rolled over and pinned her down like a Giga Chad god, giving her a full view of his cursed six-pack. She tried not to melt on the spot, but remembered how he saw her earlier, so she kept touching him to settle the score. One poke later, and she was basically short-circuiting on top of him. After patching up her burn wounds like a dollar store nurse, she apologized for judging him too fast. Ikki reminded her that she lost the duel and now had to serve him. He said it would be a disgrace if the royal brat couldn't even keep a promise. Ikki's first request? Become his roommate for real. When she started blushing like a boiled tomato, he said he could change rooms if she hated him that much, but she told him to shut up. She wanted to stay. Ikki reached out his hand like a dramatic anime boy, but Stella Vermilion said screw that and offered a fist bump instead. The next day, that walking problem named Ikki heard a voice on campus. It was his little sister Shizuku, the cold-blooded weirdo. She showed up after 4 years, shoved him down like trash, and kissed him in front of everyone like she was trying to start a scandal. Stella Vermilion, the spicy tomato princess, stood there shocked like she just transferred to some hillbilly redneck school. But Shizuku didn't care. Everyone around started losing their minds. While Stella Vermilion pulled the $2 kissing freak off of her brother, she yelled at Ikki to stop being brainless. Shizuku laughed like a psycho and pulled out her sword, bragging that her water powers could drown Stella Vermilion's flames. Stella Vermilion, never the type to let things go, summoned her sword right in the hallway. Both clowns rushed at each other. They destroyed the building in seconds like 2 toddlers with nukes. A few hours later, the director slapped them with the worst punishment: clean every toilet in the school. While scrubbing toilets like peasants, they kept roasting each other. Before leaving, Shizuku warned Stella Vermilion to stay out of her family business. She said Stella Vermilion would never understand how her brother was treated like trash his entire life. Then she walked off like a moody anime villain. Shizuku got to her dorm and met her roommate, a cute trap named Alice, the walking confusion. Meanwhile, Stella Vermilion sat confused about what just happened. When Ikki returned, she asked him if he ever felt invisible. This dude, being the dramatic mess he is, spit his drink out like his sword was about to do something nasty later. Then, he finally opened up. They walked across campus while Ikki talked about his past. He asked Stella Vermilion if she knew Samurai Roma. She said yes, then realized that Ikki's last name was Kurgan, same as Roma. Her eyes opened like she just solved anime's dumbest mystery. Ikki explained that Roma was his grandfather and that their family always made the strongest blazers. But Ikki got the short end of the gene stick and was born without magic, so his lovely family treated him like a mosquito. On New Year's Eve, after years of abuse, he ran away like a sad puppy and ended up stuck in a blizzard. While he almost died in the snow, angry and empty, his grandpa showed up and dropped some life-saving words. That moment flipped a switch in Ikki's head. He swore to become someone worthy, someone who could pass those same words to someone else. With nobody to teach him, this trash boy trained alone forever. Stella Vermilion saw herself in him since she also trained alone like a spicy loner. But Ikki's family still couldn't accept him. They hated him so much they made the school add a fake rule about needing ability points, just to make sure he never graduated. Later, Stella Vermilion was cooking up some food like a housewife cosplayer. Then she realized Ikki was showering. This woman, with zero shame, decided to just walk in like it was her bathroom too. The next morning, Shampoo Boy Ikki and Princess Fire Hazard Stella Vermilion were fighting again like 2 toddlers with magic swords. Then the match ended. Stella Vermilion got a message about her first real fight, while Ikki stood there wondering why he woke up knocked out in the shower next to Shampoo. Stella Vermilion, acting like an innocent clown, played dumb and walked away when the bells rang. Ikki followed, but she knew she wasn't done messing with his pathetic brain. When Sunday came, the Tomato Queen decided to follow Ikki on his date like a creepy stalker. Shizuku, the cold emo goblin, told her to leave him alone, but Stella Vermilion clapped back, reminding her that she was the one who wanted a room with her brother. Alice the pretty boy trap introduced himself to Ikki, who already knew this day would be longer than his rusty sword. While they walked through the mall like some weird love triangle, trouble started. A bunch of discount villains raided the security room and began flooding the place. Inside the bathroom, Alice heard footsteps, so he shut Ikki's big mouth, probably the smartest move all day. A bandit kicked the door open and started blasting like he was in a budget action movie. Once the idiots left, Alice pulled Ikki and himself back from the weird shadow world he came from. Ikki realized the girls were in danger. Alice, the magical twink, summoned a mini sword, and ripped a hole in space so they could sneak around like spies. They found the guards already turned into corpses, so Iki contacted the director. She approved his request to fight, but warned him that the bandits were after more than just money. Back at the hostage party, Shizuku whispered to Stella Vermilion that she had a plan. They just needed to keep their heads down for a bit. But when one bandit kicked a woman, her kid threw ice cream at him to defend his mom. The bandit kicked the kid too, about to go full villain mode. Stella Vermilion couldn't keep quiet and exposed herself, launching a flaming dragon to vaporize the bullets. The bandits fired at her, but her armor was thicker than her pride. The leader of these budget criminals stepped out. This guy looked like every edgy wannabe boss in a bad anime. He said it was an honor to meet the fire idiot Stella Vermilion, then yelled at his own guys for hurting kids. He said it was the mom's fault for raising the brat, then pointed his gun at her and threatened to end her life. Stella Vermilion rushed him, but he had planned this all along. He activated some busted power called Judgment Ring and began absorbing Stella Vermilion's magic. Then he smacked her with her own fire like he was tossing garbage back at the dump. He laughed at her and said she was useless, but still gave her one chance to save the mom. The price? She had to strip in front of everyone and bow down like a broken doll. Just as Iki was about to help, Alice stopped him. Stella Vermilion stood there, removing her plot armor slowly. The bandit laughed and said she still had her best part covered. She struggled, clearly losing her dignity by the second. Iki finally snapped, but Alice froze him in place, telling him to believe in the flat-chested goblin Shizuku. As soon as Stella Vermilion finished buying time, Shizuku activated her water shield. A huge dome of water surrounded the hostages, protecting them from the next wave of bullets. Iki pulled out his sword and jumped off the railing like some suicidal anime boy. He gave up his ability to see colors so he could focus on analyzing the enemy's powers faster. He figured out the leader's weak spot was his left hand. He leapt at the guy and sliced him. He told the man he couldn't use his busted power on someone he couldn't see. Alice tied the guy down like a magical snake, while Stella Vermilion finished mopping up the rest of the discount villains. Iki ran to hug Stella Vermilion like a loyal puppy, but as soon as his power drained out, a hidden bandit among the hostages pulled a gun on a woman. From the shadows, a voice rang out, and beams of light fried both the bandit and the woman like a microwave snack. Suddenly, a man stepped out of the shadows. He dropped his invisibility and revealed himself. Iki instantly recognized him as Kirara, the smug jerk with a hero complex. Outside, all the girls flocked around Kirara like he was some kind of celebrity, thanking him for saving them. But Iki walked over to thank him properly. Kirara gave no respect. He said it was his job to help the weak and then roasted Iki's whole life. Stella Vermilion jumped in to defend him, yelling that Iki was stronger than Kirara. But Kirara just laughed in her face and reminded her that Iki had run away during their last fight like the scared little loser he was. Just then, Iki's phone buzzed. He saw a message that said Kirara would be his first opponent. Kirara told him not to run away again and called him the worst of the worst. On the first day of the selection matches, Flame Freak Stella Vermilion went up against some walking trash can in heavy armor. But before anything started, she told him his shiny can wouldn't survive her firepower. The dude chickened out and gave up right away, so Flame Freak won her first match without breaking a sweat. Back in his room, edgelord Iki was watching videos of pretty boy Kirihara bullying his past opponents. But when Flame Freak asked if he'd be okay, dumbface Iki said he'd win for sure, making her stare like he just spoke alien language. As Iki tried to clear his head, his tragic emo flashbacks kept hitting him. Then Alice, the best cross-dressing therapist around, showed up asking about last year's drama. So Iki spilled the whole sob story. The old school boss wanted to kick him out, and when Kirihara found out, he got obsessed and challenged Iki to a duel. When Iki refused, Arrow Boy pulled out his weapon and rained down pain. But Iki knew if he fought back or even dodged, they'd use it as an excuse to expel him. Alice realized this dude was way too used to being a punching bag, and just hoped someone would show up to hear this loser's silent pain. Then, the day of the match came. Lowly sister Shizuku saw Iki had his shoelaces untied like a clown. At the arena, Iki immediately agreed to all the fight rules. Then some sneaky girl popped up, shocked by his guts because nobody ever agreed that fast. Iki, being Mr. Edge, already knew who she was. She teleported in close and asked if he wanted private lessons.
What do you mean by that?
30 minutes before the match, our hero sat alone trying to focus. But surprise, surprise, all his trauma came flooding back. The clock started mocking him, time flying by until he woke up dazed as they called his name. He stumbled to the field like a zombie. Kirihara was stunned that the bottom-tier loser actually showed up. The stage was ready. Arrow Boy summoned his bow. Iki pulled out his oversized kitchen knife, and it began. Kirihara told Iki to wipe that ugly mug off his face and started fake playing an imaginary piano like a cringy theater kid. Then he activated his cheap trick, Area Invisible. Iki hated that nonsense, but his fast reflexes let him barely see the arrows and block them. He even got close enough to swing back. As more arrows flew, Iki managed to pressure him, but none of his slashes landed. Kirihara bragged like an idiot, saying he wasn't the only one who got stronger. Then he vanished again and started narrating where he'd hit next. First the right thigh, then the left arm. Iki was stuck wondering what this psycho was doing when Kirihara said the arrows were invisible this year. One pierced Iki's hand from behind, dropping him. While the human Pinata took more hits, Flame Freak Stella Vermilion watched in disbelief, wondering why Dumbface was fighting like a total rookie. Alice explained that Iki was too mentally wrecked to even think straight. Stella Vermilion, the hot-headed royal clown, couldn't believe it at first, but then she remembered Iki never actually acted confident, just faked it. Alice said even pretending to be okay was a sign that Iki was screaming inside like a drama queen. Back in the ring, Arrow Boy mocked Iki, saying his graduation was Tokatoto Saint because the only way this sad failure could make it was by winning the 7 Stars Festival. The audience started laughing, pointing at Iki like he was the circus freak. Kirihara landed another arrow, this one deep into a vital spot. As Iki dropped like a ragdoll, Kirihara told the crowd to cheer for him. They chanted that Iki was the worst. After all that humiliation, something finally snapped. Iki stood back up, punched himself in the face like a madman, and whispered thanks to Flame Freak. Kirihara warned he was aiming for the head next, but Iki was finally awake. He roared like a beast, fully focused. Kirihara fired. Iki read the wounds, the voice, the direction. When the smoke cleared, he was holding the arrow with his bare hand. Everyone froze. Arrow Boy freaked out, realizing this loser could now see his invisible attacks. Iki said he knew everything about Kirihara's moves, even the technique behind it. He could now dodge, parry, and predict every shot like a battle-hardened psychic. Kirihara panicked and summoned his most broken attack, Million Rain. But Iki, the comeback machine, blocked everything. He aimed close to Kirihara's face but missed by 1 tiny millimeter, just to flex. He said he still had more to learn, then dropped his stance. The whole crowd lost it, screaming for Iki. His power faded, and he turned to Flame Freak with a smug look before collapsing like a drama diva. Later, in the hospital, he woke up to Stella Vermilion's face. Iki, the king of dumb timing, said she better get used to his warm liquid all over her mouth. He apologized for making her worry, but she denied caring, which made everything even weirder. Then she got all soft and pulled back, making Iki wonder if she felt the same. When she nodded, he hugged her tight like a clingy fool. That moment, he felt like he could crush anything if she was by his side. He told her that for the final battle, he wanted to face her again. 2 weeks later, Flamehead was out training like a dumb anime protagonist while crying in her brain because her boyfriend still hadn't done anything romantic. Meanwhile, Sword Boy won all 5 of his matches and lost the name Worst One. The next day in class, Horny News Girl wanted Sword Boy to teach her how to handle his sword. Of course she did. She even started writing tomorrow's newspaper headline like a clown, bragging that she was going to learn how to get stabbed from behind. Flamehead was about to burn the building down in jealousy, but Sword Boy said yes like the clueless idiot he is. On the other side of the room, the group of trashy simps were crying because all the girls wanted Sword Boy. Then Bloody Lungs Girl walked in and coughed up blood again, because why not? Back at their dorm, Flamehead tried to ask Sword Boy if they could finally act like a couple, but this idiot was already knocked out, probably dreaming about swords and getting beat up. She stared at his unconscious body like a lonely creep. The next morning, Sword Boy taught the girls how to balance to strengthen their core muscles, while some loser gang of virgins pulled up and summoned their weapons like they were tough. One even pulled a gun on him, but Sword Boy was built different. He dodged all their attacks and slapped them into next week. When the leader almost pulled the trigger, Sword Boy flicked a pebble so hard it jammed the gun. Then he walked up to the guy, clapped in his face like a boss. Sword Boy told them using weapons like that was against the rules, and instead of fighting back, these beta males dropped to their knees, called themselves trash, and begged to learn how to be like him. But Sword Boy said fine, so now the simps started training too. Meanwhile, a squad of annoying girls asked him to teach them how to fight. But when Flamehead asked him directly, he refused. She took it personally like a drama queen and ran away crying. While she was moping around like a rejected anime waifu, Bald Alice found her and asked if Flatbro defeated her again. Then he gave her a dumb dating sim game. That night, Flamehead played the game and realized she was missing everything. In the game, she could be honest, hold hands, kiss, even play with swords. All the stuff Sword Boy was too dense to do. Right when things got weird, Sword Boy walked in. Flamehead screamed at him for not knocking, but Sword Boy told her they were going to the pool for training and asked if she wanted to come. The next day on the bus, Flamehead sat next to Sword Boy looking smug, while Flatbro was suspicious about what happened the night before. She remembered what Sword Boy told her, that she was already stronger than him and he didn't want to train her because she was on another level. She realized she was special to him, the chosen one for his dumb heart. At the pool, Flamehead told Flatbro she could use her body as a surfboard, but Flatbro clapped back and said Flamehead could float just fine with her blow-up doll body. In the distance, some mystery girl was watching like a creep. Training started and Sword Boy told everyone to jump in the water. Flamehead tried showing off her giant airbags, but they bounced her off the floaty and smacked the mystery girl. Later, Flamehead wanted alone time with Sword Boy and jumped into the water. Outside the water, she started choking on her own drool, while Flamehead yelled that a real princess like her would never do anything nasty. Horny Newsgirl took that as an opportunity to steal Sword Boy. Flamehead shouted that Sword Boy was her boyfriend. Flamehead turned bright red and admitted they hadn't even kissed. Horny Newsgirl screamed at her to stop being useless and make a move already. But even then, Kagami reminded Stella Vermilion that men are worthless beings who might flee if she moves too slowly. When Stella Vermilion said she would never want that to happen, Kagami got up and ran away. When they were alone, Ikki wondered what she wanted to talk about, but she was too embarrassed, so she asked him what he thought of her swimsuit. Ikkithan revealed that he had been meaning to talk to her and asked if it was okay for them to continue moving in this manner, which made Stella Vermilion cry because she realized her to think he's a disgusting creep, and after all, she's the one who hadn't made any moves on him. However, Stella Vermilion told him that she would never want to seem like a loose ass and get rejected, but Ikki told her that it's the same for him while screaming. Ikki asked why they were fighting, but Stella Vermilion screamed back, saying she has no idea. After they calmed down, Ikki asked her to confess what she truly wanted. At the same time as him, throughout the bus ride, they continued holding each other's hands. But just then, their phone's notifications went off, alerting them that their next opponents would be from the student council, and a mysterious girl smiled. The following week, Renine was sprinting across to build up her speed and break the sound barrier, and across the other field, Sue was spinning his blade as it accumulated weight, telling Stella Vermilion there's no chance for her to deflect his attack once they were both ready. Sue launched his attack while Ren rushed forward, but held her back while Stella Vermilion completely destroyed the man's sword, telling him that she can take all of his abilities head-on with Tai's blade, pointing towards Renan. Both of the student council members were absolutely clapped, but the girl from the pool continued staring at them. However, Alice asked to Ikki if they were going to keep ignoring the dumbass in the background, and she fell down before running away and landing in the river at the hospital. She apologized for hiding this entire time, but introduced herself as Ayatsuji AA. As soon as Ikki heard her last name, he realized that she was the daughter of Ayatsuji Kaido. But when Nikki asked how her father was, Shizuku Kuragane revealed that he'd been hospitalized still. She was happy that someone like Ikki would know her father, and wished for him to train her so. The next day, Ikki helped Shizuku Kuragane with her training. As he dodged her attacks, he saw that her basics were solid, but he told her to stop right before she aimed at his neck. He then figured out that her weakness came from copying her dad's fighting style. Since men and women have different body types, the technique didn't work for her. Ikki knew how to fix it, but warned her that she wouldn't be able to fight like her dad again. Still, Shizuku Kuragane asked him to teach her so she could get stronger. Ikki put her in a new stance and started adjusting her legs. The girls watching were surprised. As he touched her legs, Shizuku Kuragane struggled to stay focused. After a while, she couldn't take it anymore and lost control, but her stance was fixed. Once she calmed down, she felt more firm and stable. Ikki told her to attack, and with one move, she blocked his strike and aimed at his neck. She was amazed he solved her problem so fast, but Stella Vermilion was jealous that another girl was close to Ikki again. That night, Ikki said sorry for touching her, but Shizuku Kuragane thanked him and said she liked how his strong hands felt. His hands reminded her of her father's hands, strong and kind. Stella Vermilion later asked Shizuku if she was okay with the new girl being around, but Shizuku said she was better than another girl who's always after her brother. As long as Ikki was happy, that's all she wanted. Later that night, Stella Vermilion asked Ikki how it felt touching Shizuku Kuragane. Ikki didn't know what to say, but Stella Vermilion held out her hand. He promised he was just helping Shizuku Kuragane, but Stella Vermilion said she was still jealous. Ikki told her not to worry because he only loved her, and she went on her tiptoes. The next morning, Shizuku Kuragane was sparring with Stella Vermilion while Ikki watched. That night, Shizuku Kuragane invited them for dinner. Stella Vermilion kept eating non-stop, saying she needed the food to move her body. Then, a group of bandits showed up and spoke to Shizuku Kuragane like they knew her. Ikki told them Shizuku Kuragane felt uncomfortable and asked them to leave, but their leader noticed Ikki was a swordsman and poured him some wine. When Ikki reached for the drink, the man smashed the bottle on his head, saying a swordsman should never drop his guard. A worker tried calling the police, but a student council member stopped him. When Stella Vermilion was about to attack, Ikki stopped her, saying it was just a mistake. The bandits laughed at him, and their leader even spat on him, but Ikki still tried to keep things calm. The leader walked away, saying they'd just embarrassed themselves more. After they left, Stella Vermilion asked why Ikki took the hit on purpose. He said he'd get expelled if he used his weapon, and knew he couldn't beat the leader without it. As they walked together, Stella Vermilion asked who those men were, but she didn't get an answer. Ikki told her he'd always be there for her if she needed help. But then, both their phones rang. Ikki's next opponent was Shizuku Kuragane. At the bandits' base, a guy named the Great Sword Eater felt something was wrong. A few days later, Stella Vermilion noticed Shizuku Kuragane had Shizuku Kuragane appeared from their matches. Later, Alice warned Ikki that Shizuku Kuragane had no chance of beating him, so she would probably do something before the match. Ikki agreed and showed him a message Shizuku Kuragane sent, asking him to meet her at the top of a building at 3 a.m. That night, Ikki went to the top of the building where Shizuku Kuragane was waiting. As they looked at each other, Shizuku Kuragane remembered the promise he made to Stella Vermilion and asked what he would do if he had to fight someone he couldn't beat. He said he would still fight fairly, but Shizuku Kuragane said she would do anything to win, then opened the gates and fell. After they got out, Ayatsuji realized he used his special move, and Ikki finally understood that Shizuku Kuragane had set a trap. She knew he could only use that move once a day, and with only 10 hours left until their match, this was her only chance to win. When Ikki asked why she threw away the pride of her sword style, she walked away, leaving him to fall. Later, Stella Vermilion had a dream of Ikki using his sword technique on her and breaking through her defenses. Ikki's head landed on her chest. She wondered if her dream was becoming real, but saw he was barely breathing. A few hours later, Ikki woke up in the hospital and worried he missed the match, but he still had 4 hours left. The director came in, and seeing the damage, Ikki admitted he was the cause. In her office, the director told him the truth. 2 years ago, Shizuku Kuragane's father, known as the Last Samurai, lost a duel and went to the hospital. The one who beat him was the Great Sword Eater. Based on the duel's deal, the Great Sword Eater took over the dojo, and Shizuku Kuragane's father had been in a coma since then. As Shizuku Kuragane looked at him, she remembered her father's words about always fighting fair and keeping her pride. But the Great Sword Eater kicked her out like trash, and that made her angry. Outside the director's office, Ikki was still ready to fight Shizuku Kuragane fairly, but wanted to confirm one last thing before the match. When the match started, Yuri was one of the commentators, meaning it would be intense. The gates opened and both Iki and Shizuku Kuragan walked in. Shizuku Kuragan said she was surprised by Iki's determination, but he ignored her and summoned his sword. When she summoned hers, the match began. Iki rushed in, but 5 slashes hit him before he even got close, and another hit his back when he landed. Still, he got up and blocked her next attack. After they clashed, Iki stepped back, thinking she had set traps before the match. Shizuku Kuragane knew where she put all her traps and told him there was nowhere to run. As he dodged, Shizuku Kuragane was glad the commentators didn't notice. When he almost fell into a trap, he avoided it just in time, but a slash cut across his arm. He realized the next hit might kill him. Shizuku Kuragane kept attacking, but Iki managed to defend himself and counter. She then cast a tornado, but when the dust cleared, he had blocked it with the hilt of his sword, icking her. As she jumped back, he told her she was just like he thought. He remembered going to Yuri before the match, saying Shizuku Kuragane might cheat. He asked her to act like nothing happened. Even though Yuri said he would win automatically if Shizuku Kuragane cheated, Iki wanted to believe she was different. During the match, he saw her moves were off and that she ignored what he taught her, so he decided to fix that by fighting her with all his strength to bring back her pride. He rushed in, dodging all her traps with his sharp vision. As he got closer, she triggered every trap she had, but he broke through them and vanished from her sight. As she fell, crying and wondering why she lost again, Iki told her her heart wasn't in the fight. She had been lying to herself. But Iki said he still wanted to help her get back what was taken from her. When she asked why he would help someone who betrayed him, he said he didn't need a reason to help his friends. When he reached out his hand, she realized he was just like her father. She took his hand and asked him to help her. He told her those were the words he wanted to hear. The next day, Iki went with Shizuku Kuragane to her stolen dojo. She told him what happened that day. During a terrible storm, the Great Sword Eater blocked all of the last samurai's attacks. When he pushed him away, Shizuku Kuragan's father said he couldn't forgive him and rushed to fight again. The Great Sword Eater wondered if that was all the last samurai had. The samurai then launched many strikes, but the Great Sword Eater blocked everything and knocked him back. Even then, Kaido told Shizuku Kuragane not to help and said he would show the true Ayatsuji style. He almost landed a hit, but coughed blood, giving the Great Sword Eater the chance to strike. But he missed on purpose, and Shizuku Kuragane's father collapsed in her arms. His last words were, "I'm sorry." The Great Sword Eater walked away, saying the dojo would no longer be theirs. Since that day, Shizuku Kuragane had sworn to defeat him. They arrived at her ruined dojo. Later, Iki entered a room with the girls and challenged the Great Sword Eater to a duel, saying he would fight for Shizuku Kuragane. He threw down the ID cards from his defeated friends to prove himself. The Great Sword Eater summoned Orochimaru, nearly dying from it, but he tamed it. At the same time, Iki summoned Intetsu, and the Great Sword Eater charged at him. Iki barely blocked his strong attacks. When Iki found an opening and attacked, the Great Sword Eater blocked it quickly, shocking him. From a distance, the Great Sword Eater used his serpent sword to keep Iki away, knowing he was weak at long range, but Iki kept moving forward. When the Great Sword Eater tried attacking from behind, Iki used his sharp vision to dodge and strike, but the Great Sword Eater dodged again. He then slashed at Iki but changed direction mid-attack, almost killing him. Iki then realized the secret of his power. It was his speed. Normal people react in 0.3 seconds. Stella Vermilion and Iki at 0.1 seconds. But the Great Sword Eater reacted faster than 0.05 seconds. This was his special move, Marginal Counter. He could attack from 2 directions at once. Even so, Iki used his unusual guarding to defend and back away. But the Great Sword Eater got faster, using 4 attacks at once. Iki couldn't block everything and tripped, which saved him from a deadly hit. The Great Sword Eater said it was over. As more cuts appeared on Iki, he started smiling. Shizuku Kuragane watched and remembered how her father lost the same way. She tried to step in, but Stella Vermilion stopped her, saying Iki was enjoying the challenge. Shizuku Kuragane realized her father might not have been full of regret when he said, "I'm sorry." He had looked at the Great Sword Eater with respect. Shizuku Kuragane understood she hadn't truly been a knight. As Stella Vermilion tried to comfort her, both swords struck the ground. Stella Vermilion noticed that the Great Sword Eater's weakness might be his stamina. Iki, breathing hard, was happy to fight someone so strong, hoping it wouldn't end. When the dust cleared, blood hit the floor. Shizuku Kuragane saw the move, Teni Mao, the last secret of the Ayatsuji style. She asked how Iki learned it. Stella Vermilion said it was blade steel. She thought his back was worth following, but Iki only cared about Stella Vermilion's back. After his sword vanished, the Great Sword Eater asked for his name. When Iki answered, the Great Sword Eater said they'd continue the fight in the 7 Stars tournament. A few days later, Shizuku Kuragane told the committee about her cheating and got removed from the matches. Just then, she sent a message saying her father had woken up. With the case closed, Stella Vermilion tried holding Iki's hand, but Shizuku and Alice blocked them. As everyone had fun, Iki looked at his hand and smiled at the sky. At the same time, Shizuku Kuragane held her father's hand again for the first time in 2 years. Throughout the next few weeks, Iki kept winning all his matches, and by the 12th one, everyone knew his name. Later that day, Stella Vermilion's big chest and Iki were going on a vacation paid for by their director because of all their wins, but neither of them noticed the sneaky smile she gave. Stella Vermilion was excited to finally have their first night together, and Iki knew something long was coming, and it wasn't time in bed. While they were leaving, Shizuku was also getting on a bus to go visit her parents. As they walked, Stella Vermilion sneezed and felt cold, so Iki gave her his jacket. She felt happy they were acting like real lovers. But far away, Iki noticed some people and realized they were in trouble. Stella Vermilion was cleaning floors at the student council house, and the vice president said that this place would be the training ground for tournament reps after the selection matches. Stella Vermilion saw that she wouldn't be able to relax like she planned. Meanwhile, Shizuku got to her parents' mansion and even named her cat after Iki. After cleaning, Stella Vermilion said they would visit a waterfall, but Renan said Iki's sword already sees her waterfall every night. Before leaving, Iki saw Stella Vermilion was already burning up, but she acted like everything was fine. While hiking, Iki turned and saw she was about to collapse, but she kept pretending. Iki knew she wasn't okay, especially since she only ate 2 bowls of rice instead of her usual 7. She still yelled that she didn't want to turn back because they could finally be alone. At the mansion, Shizuku's dad called her in to talk. Meanwhile, the weather got worse, and Iki saw Stella Vermilion was really sick. When she told him she felt dizzy, she thought the kiss they had might have made her pregnant. Iki was ready to run from being a dad but told her it was probably just a cold. But as a princess, she had never had a cold before, and she was breathing hard. As the rain fell, Iki carried her, but someone in the woods was watching them. They made it to an old cabin, and Iki tried warming her up. When he touched her head, he knew she had a fever. Since she was all wet, he told her to take off her clothes. She was too shy, so Iki also stripped in front of her. She laughed to herself even though she knew the truth. He was excited by her. At that moment, Iki knew he was becoming a man. Iki told her that one day he wants to proudly tell everyone she's his lover, but if they did anything now, he could never face their families. Stella Vermilion was happy because it meant he was serious about her and thanked him. Just then, Iki's phone rang, and when he stepped out to answer it, Stella Vermilion realized she would have let him do anything he wanted. Outside, the spy told a gross, ugly man named Yuya about their location, and he was excited to start. Back at the mansion, Shizuku met with her dad. When he tried to talk to her, she said she just wanted to go to her room. He said he was proud she won 12 matches, but it only made her angry. She wanted to know why he wasn't proud of her brother, who also won 12. She ran off and slammed the door. Meanwhile, Iki heard loud booms outside the cabin. When he checked, he saw a big golem about to crush the place. He quickly saved Stella Vermilion using his Ito Shura and carried her away. After putting her down, he called out Intetsu and used his first move, Ito Seigen, to destroy the golem, but it split into smaller ones that kept coming back. No matter how many he cut, they just kept returning and beating him. Right then, Renan jumped down and destroyed them, saving her, while Sue took care of the ones after Iki. But Iki knew someone was controlling the golems from far away, and Sue and Rainin had already lost. As he wondered what to do, Toka Todo said she could trace the threads back and used her power. She rushed forward and destroyed all the golems without even drawing her sword. As Ikki watched her, he realized this is what the top knight at Hagoon Academy looks like, the 4th place in the 7 Stars Festival. At that moment, Shizuku got a message on her phone. She stood still for a second, then smiled when she saw her next opponent was Toka Todo herself. The next day, Stella Vermilion wondered how Shizuku could beat Toka Todo since water gets shocked by lightning, but Alice told her that Shizuku's water is super pure, so lightning won't go through it. Still, Ikki wanted his sister to be safe. On the day of the match, both girls stepped onto the stage. Shizuku quickly summoned her water sword, and Toka Todo summoned hers. The match started as they stared at each other. En said they were waiting for the other to move first since one wrong step could kill them. After a few more minutes of staring, Shizuku made the first move with a water field, but Toka Todo blocked her hits while throwing her own attacks. Shizuku made a wall of water to stop her, but Toka Todo dodged everything and kept trying to break through. No matter how much water Shizuku used, Toka Todo knew she would run out of power soon, so she came in close. Shizuku managed to freeze her and sent a big ice spike to crush her, but Toka Todo broke out with one hit. As she wondered what Toka Todo was seeing, Toka Todo suddenly flashed toward her. Shizuku barely dodged, but when Toka Todo slashed, it turned out to be a water clone. They stared again, but Toka Todo vanished and attacked while Shizuku kept dodging. En stopped talking in the booth as Toka Todo kept pushing Shizuku back. Stella Vermilion asked why Shizuku was so slow, and Ikki said she couldn't see Toka Todo's attacks. A teacher had used the same thing on him once. Then En praised Ikki for being smart. The move was called Nashi, an old fighting trick where the user breathes a certain way and hides in the opponent's mind. She said, people can't think too much or their brain overheats, so Nashi helps the user wait quietly until it's time to strike. Because of that, Shizuku had no way to win, but Ikki still believed she had one last move. Stella Vermilion started yelling for her to keep going. Shizuku was annoyed at hearing that cow yell at her, but it reminded her she couldn't let Stella Vermilion take the top spot with her brother. So she used her water to heal herself and got serious. She didn't have a plan to win, but she felt ready. When Toka Todo rushed her, Shizuku shot water bolts and blocked her, then sent more ice at her. Toka Todo dodged and hit back with lightning, freezing her hands. Shizuku used ice pillars to block the lightning. When Toka Todo got close to slash her, it was another water clone. Then more clones ran at Toka Todo, and when she cut them, they turned into thick mist. But soon after, Shizuku dropped her sword and passed out, losing her 13th match. As the stage sparkled, Alice asked if Ikki still wanted his sister to try so hard. That night, they all waited for Shizuku to wake up. When she did, she asked them to leave because she was tired. After they left, Stella Vermilion asked if she would be okay. Ikki said she was strong now. In her room, Shizuku wondered why Alice stayed behind. When she yelled at him, he hugged her and said she had worked hard, and her brother watched the whole fight. Somewhere else in town, her dad heard she lost and told the ugly fat man to go ahead with his plans. A few days later, Stella Vermilion finally won her 14th match. As she walked in the sunset, she wondered if she was getting stronger from all the pain she had put her body through. Ikki asked if she knew what she just said, but she laughed and reminded him of their promise. As they kissed, a creepy guy took a photo and smiled to himself. The next week, the director asked Ikki if he knew a disgusting fat guy named Akaza. When he said Akaza was from Kurogane and worked under his father, she warned him to be careful around campus. Later that day, the student council called Ikki and Stella Vermilion. As soon as they walked in, Tuka was lying in the most awkward pose and yelled at the others to clean up. Then she noticed her guests had arrived. Stella Vermilion told her that her skirt wasn't covering anything and realized Tuka was nothing like she imagined. At the orphanage where Tuka grew up, the kids were happy to see her. One of them recognized Stella Vermilion from TV and ran to play with her. For the rest of the day, Stella Vermilion and the student council played with the kids while Ikki and Tuka made food. While cooking, Ikki was happy his sister fought her. When Misogi said she forced Tuka to take off her glasses, Ikki already understood her power. The worse her eyesight, the stronger her noble art. The human brain works like a chip controlled by weak electric signals. As a lightning user, Tuka could see those signals and read her opponent's mind, seeing every trap and trick. As they finished cooking, Ikki wondered why he couldn't stop looking at her. Misogi said this was her true strength. Back in the institution, there was a violent kid who kept hurting Tuka, but she never left him. Slowly, he changed. The love she got from her family made her strong, and now she gave that love to the orphanage kids so they could smile and make memories. She had become their courage. As they all ate, Ikki saw her powers weren't for herself, but for others. On the way home, Ikki wondered what his own strength was for. When they arrived, Shizuku and the others showed him a newspaper. It had a photo of him and Stella Vermilion on the front page, calling it an indecent scandal. Then Akaza showed up and said the Morals Committee had summoned Ikki. When Stella Vermilion shouted at him to go away, Ikki told her it was okay, and got in the car. But he didn't know how bad the next few weeks would be. On June 28th, Ikki was arrested. On June 29th, he had his first hearing. Akaza asked when he started dating Stella Vermilion, and someone asked if it was wrong to date a princess. Ikki said they did nothing wrong. Akaza tried to stop him, but Ikki apologized and clearly said he loved Stella Vermilion and she loved him, so no one could say he was wrong. On June 30th, they put Ikki in solitary confinement. He struggled to think. Meanwhile, Stella Vermilion won her next match, but people called her disgusting. She couldn't sleep at night. On the fourth day, Akaza allowed Ikki to fight a selection match in the compound, even though he was weak from hunger. Yuri was the official, and Akaza started the match. On July 2nd, the news spread lies about Ikki being a killer. Stella Vermilion wondered if it was her fault and if they shouldn't be together. Shizuku slapped her in public and said Ikki was going through all this to protect their relationship. That's how much it meant to him. She reminded Stella Vermilion that Ikki wanted to protect her. Then she called Stella Vermilion pathetic for thinking about leaving him. On July 3rd, she cut a strand of her hair. On the 8th day, Ikki won another match, his 16th, and collapsed. Yuri caught him and vomited blood to distract the guards while slipping something into his clothes. Alone in his cell, Ikki saw it was Stella Vermilion's hair. It reminded him of their promise, and he decided not to hold back anymore. That day, he asked to meet his father, the branch head, to prove his innocence. Akaza thought he was a joke, but the director agreed. When Ikki saw his father, the man was impressed by how Ikki kept winning. At that moment, Ikki realized he had been fighting all along to be recognized by his father. When he said it out loud, his father told him he was wrong. He had always seen him. But then he added that teaching someone without talent is useless, because it only leads to average results. That crushed Ikki. His father said when a weak person achieves success, it gives false hope to useless people and causes problems in society. On the 11th day of imprisonment, Ikki won another match, but it felt like his soul left him. His only goal, being recognized by his father, was now gone. After winning his 19th match, the final match was coming soon, and the director told his sister some bad news. At the same time, Aza said who the next opponent was. It was Toka Todo. If Ikki won this match, it would prove he was good enough and stop the doubts, but if he lost, he would stop trying to be a knight. That night in Toka Todo's room, Shizuku showed up after. She had called her. She knew the match was not fair, so she asked her to make Ikki quit, but when she got home, Shizuku told Alice she didn't know what to do. At the same time, Stella Vermilion was outside in the rain, angry, and Ikki was completely tired. The day of the final matches came and only 6 winners would go to the Seven Swords Festival. Among them were the Vice President, Alice, Stella Vermilion, and Ikki. His match would be shown on TV, but Na had already left her job. As she looked at the helicopters, she saw they were trying to shame Ikki. Just then, an old man showed up, the god of war. He said he came not just to see Toka Todo, but also to watch Ikki, the son of Kugan. Then Akaza showed up saying the match might be stopped today. The announcer said Ikki still hadn't come and he would lose if he didn't show in 15 minutes. The director asked what happened to the plan of sending Ikki with guards, but Ayaza said Ikki already left by himself. But he was sure Ikki would be fine if he didn't fall on the way. As Ikki kept trying to run, he remembered his grandpa's words, saying, being upset means he didn't give up. But in the cold snow, his dark self said those were useless words for a weak boy trying to do the impossible. Those words only gave him pain, and His own skills were just copied moves, nothing good enough to beat Raikiri. The voice told him to stop believing in ghost words, but before falling, a fire lit up in his heart and helped him move again. That fire gave him color in life. Then he saw Shizuku hugging him. She told him that she didn't want him to fight Tokatodo, but she would never stop him from living his own life. At the same time, all the people he had helped came to support him. Shizuku said he would never be alone. Holding her medal, Stella Vermilion showed him she still believed in their promise. He kept going and asked himself why he ever doubted. He had made a promise with Stella Vermilion, and she told him they would rise together to the top of knighthood. The announcer said Ikki had arrived. In the arena, Tokatodo came in with Ikki. Then Alice also came back with his medal, but Nassau. That Ikki was hurt and looked hungry. Still, Tokatodo said sorry that he got hurt without help, but said she was too excited. Since the first time she saw him, she couldn't stop thinking about their unfinished fight. Ikki felt the same way, and said he would not let down the people who supported him. Though many thought he was crazy, Stella Vermilion knew this was his plan to beat Tokatodo head-on. Tokatodo knew he would charge at her, so if she dodged once, she would win. But she didn't want it to end that easy. At the same time, Ikki knew he had just one chance, so he didn't need a whole minute. In a second, all color vanished and he rushed ahead fast as a knight. At that moment, the match ended with Ikki as the winner. Outside, the Great Sword Eater was happy to hear it. But Ikki's win hurt Aza more than his slapped face. The God of War said Tokatodo didn't hold back, but Ikki raised his limits at the last second. The director said Ikki couldn't beat Raikiri with time, so he put everything in one move instead. To the God of War, this was beyond amazing. A demon in human form, so he called the move Itozetsu, the demon's slash. On the field, Ikki tried not to fall because he still had something to say, and Aza tried to cut Ikki. But Stella Vermilion blasted him back into the shadows where he belonged. When she got to Ikki, he walked toward her, but when his sword vanished, she hugged him to stop him from falling. She told him he did well. He said sorry for making her worry, but she said she was the stupid one because even now, she still loved him. As she hugged him, he felt the warmth that saved him again. Shizuku got the biggest win ever. Meanwhile, Ikki's dad got a call from the Emperor of Vermilion, who yelled at him to keep their kids out of adult problems. He said a good parent would do that, but Ituki said nothing. At the award event, two ugly twins, Alice, the vice president, Stella Vermilion, and Ikki qualified. These six would be the fighters for Hagen Academy at the Seven Swords Festival. Tokatodo said this year's leader was Ikki. When he asked why, he was chosen. Everyone in the crowd said he was their leader. Later, as they sat together to talk about marriage, Shizuku jumped in the middle and told Stella Vermilion to move her fat legs. But Stella Vermilion said Ikki was hers now, and he didn't need to use his sister as a surfboard anymore. And so they all lived happily, until Stella Vermilion became a bunny. Hit the like and subscribe and watch the next video. Till next time, my fellow legendary plot masters.